Hey everybody, I'm really excited about this new mini-series that I'm doing that's called Men and Pornography. It's a 3-part series, and so I hope you really enjoy this part that's coming out now. And so I just wanted to let you guys know, and kind of like a little disclaimer, that I'm not professing to be a sexologist or a theologian with the Bible or a professional in this area or anything like that. I'm just someone who's willing to share part of their story and part of their struggle, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to help someone. So enjoy this part, guys, and leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Hey everybody, how we all doing on this cloudy Tuesday afternoon? And I hope you've all got yourself a hot drink. I made myself a very nice caramel latte. It's very nice. And I am super excited to continue this series on men and pornography. And I hope you got some good stuff out of part 1. Today, part 2, I'm going to be talking about expectation versus reality. And so I wanted to dive in on that because when you get married, you have an expectation of what sex or intimacy is gonna be, especially, and this is the important thing. So in my last video, I talked about having a coach or mentor who you can be honest and you can talk up front with. It's super important to be able to talk about the expectations of what you think sex or intimacy is going to be. So the reality of porn is that what they are creating is not what intimacy truly is. They are actors, they're actresses, and they create fake love or fake sex. They don't, and that's not the reality of how sex is. The components and how they do things, and that where essentially penis goes into a vagina, yes, that's sex. But I'm talking about the emotions behind sex as well, and because that's where intimacy comes in. That's probably the difference of sex and intimacy. And so, and I personally, when I got married, and I definitely had an expectation of what sex would be like, and I realized very early on that what I was watching from porn and what the perception I got of what sex is was completely wrong. And I very fast started to get myself down and put myself down and discourage myself because I wasn't achieving or doing the same thing in those videos. And for instance, and being real, some videos go for more than 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And and this is also being real, when you first, as a man, are having sex, you can ejaculate quite fast. And it's over within 30 seconds, a minute, or 10 seconds, I don't know, something like that, very early. And the female hasn't even achieved orgasm by that point. And so the perception, so I started to get myself really down because I wasn't able to achieve exactly what I was watching. Where I was watching where the woman looked like she was having an amazing time and orgasming 3-4 times and that kind of thing. And so my whole perception of what I thought what intimacy was going to be was so screwed up. And so I, like I said, I instantly started putting myself down. I'm not good enough, and all of these physical attributes that I didn't meet, and it ruined a lot of intimacy that I had with with my wife. And excuse me. Oh, excuse me again. And I get this is a super hard topic to talk about, but there are going to be times in your marriage, and this is coming from personal experience. You'll find that I draw a lot on personal experiences, and like I said at the start of the video, I'm not a professional. I'm just willing to share my story. And there's going to be times where you want to be intimate with your partner, but she just doesn't want to. She's not in the mood. Maybe she had a bad day at work. There's many things that come into that for the reason why she might not be in the mood. And that can put you down pretty fast because you're ready to go, you want to. And I know personally, it's a myth that guys every time are ready to go and wanting to have sex. There were times where I wasn't in the mood. I'd had a rough day, and I just wasn't wanting that. And that's okay, by the way. That's totally fine. The biggest part in that when that happens is to communicate. Because it was never that I didn't find my wife attractive or anything like that. It simply was most of the time, if that happened, I just had a bad day and just was not wanting. I just wanted to do nothing, or I don't know, sit down and play my video games or something like that. And so it's totally fine to say no. And so that's reality. The expectation that happens especially when you are watching it from a young age. So I started when I was 11. I started looking at stuff, and I started to learn and bring up an expectation, because when you're young, you're at your vital stages of life where you're learning and taking everything in. So I absolutely brought this expectation. And what pornography does, and I've said this in another video, is that it sets up an expectation that your wife is never going to meet. And it also sets up an expectation that you as a husband or you as a partner are never going to meet. And girls, because girls watch pornography as well, you set up an expectation for your husband that he is never going to meet. And again, as a partner or when you're dating, you're going to set them up for when you get married, that you will set both of yourselves up an expectation that you're never going to meet. And so in a marriage, what intimacy is, it's actually part of the glue that helps you and your husband or wife stick together. Along with other things like Jesus and communication, those are the vital things. But a good sex life helps with staying together. And you're not going to be amazing at it straight away. You're probably going to suck at it. Like for some who last till they get married, you've never done it before. And so you don't set yourself up that you're going to be this amazing macho, last forever, gonna make her orgasm every single time, and it's going to be this amazing time every single time. Especially when you start. The whole journey when you're married is also the fun of working out and communicating what you like and how you like things. And open communication with how things are going. And like I said, there's going to be times where you suck, the woman, it wasn't great, but that's okay. You can try again another day, and you can talk about, well, I didn't really like that, or I didn't want that way, or I liked it when this happened, and talking about it is vital. That's reality. You don't see like the couple in porn talking about what they enjoyed or what they liked. They just act it. And most of the time, the females act having the orgasm. And so when you're watching it, like I was saying, it's fake. It's total garbage. Now, and so this is going to be part 3 is what I want to talk about in this, and it's identifying emotional triggers. So I did some research, and it blew my mind when I started reading a lot of this stuff, and it actually set me free a lot of the shame that I was feeling. So identifying emotional triggers. So we are all human beings who crave intimacy and physical touch. We all, whether you do it in public or whether you privately do it. So myself, I don't necessarily like physical touch in a very public setting, but privately, like touch me, hug me, love me, cuddle me, all that kind of thing. I love that. I crave that. And and some people are very public with their affection. They just love their friends, and they'll give them a kiss on the cheek, or they'll hug or cuddle or whatever. I actually know of a friend who she has this one friend that she doesn't actually hug anybody else, and she only hugs this one person, but she gets her love tank filled by that. So in some form or some way, all of us want our love tanks filled. And so I'm going to talk about identifying the emotional triggers, because we all want our love tank filled, and we substitute pornography as that. So we substitute our intimacy and our craving for physical touch with pornography, which is unhealthy because it sets up an expectation that our partners are never going to be able to meet. And we actually expect that this is how physical touch is. This is what love looks like. And when in reality, you don't get that expectation, it creates conflict. And it creates, you're not happy with it. And some marriages break down from that because they had an expectation of what sex was. They, with their partner, were intimate, and it wasn't what they wanted, and it wasn't what they expected. And they break up. They get a divorce over that. That's like some cases, and these are some stats from America, that happens. And another thing is, the reality is, your partner is someone who was created by God, completely different to you. And so their intimate needs and their physical needs are vastly different. And like I said, there's going to be times where they don't want to, they're not in the mood, and there's going to be times where you're not in the mood. And so what happens sometimes is when you're in the mood and you try, but you get stood down, you go to something that you can control. You control what you want to watch, how you want to watch it, and what you watch. So you fall back to something, like you fall back to porn because you can control, sorry, it's really hard. You can control it. And that's a habit that happens when your emotional triggers. So for me, it was sadness. And so when I got sad, this emotional trigger would happen and I would want to watch porn, because for males and females, when you masturbate, you release a chemical which is called oxytocin, which is an incredible chemical which happens and it makes you happy. So from a young age, you're learning that happiness, your oxytocins, equals porn. And in a time and that's unhealthy. That's not. And when you do it over and over again, your brain starts to connect that even stronger and stronger and stronger. And so that's what the emotional triggers happen. So this happens, I need to connect my happiness. I want to be happy, so that equals porn. And so that's reality, is what's going on in your head. You're craving intimacy, you're alone, and you want to make yourself happy. So you've connected the dots, and that's what happens. And that's incredibly unhealthy. Now, I want to talk about emotional triggers in the next video, so be looking out for that video. And I hope you've really enjoyed this part of me talking about expectation over reality. And remember that the main point that if you take nothing away but this will help you. Pornography sets up an expectation that you yourself as a husband and you and your wife will never meet, and vice versa. Before you even have sex together as a married couple, you set up that expectation that she's never going to meet. So, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this part, and I hope that you've taken things away. Be looking out for part 3. I'm really excited to talk about the emotional triggers that happen and how you can alter the connection of dots from happy equals pornography, and break those cycles. And guys, we're all in this together. The stats are 9 out of 10 guys are looking at porn, and so we all struggle, and we are all human beings that crave intimacy. It's just that sometimes we substitute it for an unhealthy habit. So guys, have a great day, go be a blessing to somebody else, and peace out.